Hey guys, it's Al from Altruistic Channel, and I'm here coming to you from my favorite park in the New Orleans area, just outside the French Quarter, across the street actually. The Louis Armstrong. I don't know why I said Saint. The Louis Armstrong Park, and as you can see, it's so beautiful and majestic, and I love it. So let's cut to the quick. So what I wanted to kind of mention right now, as I'm switching topics, is one of the great things about being a bartender in the city of New Orleans is one, the fact that I didn't intend to be a bartender. Obviously, I went to college and wanted to do other things, and I have a technical degree, and I was working on my pharmacology degree. It's just like a whole thing, but I had a whole nother life in mind. And I didn't fall into bartending. I actually chose it, and as many of you know from another segment that I did, I actually started as a bartender because I realized that in New Orleans there really isn't an industry quite like hospitality, and you can't make the same money you can make in, let's say, Los Angeles that you can make here in New Orleans. So I decided to go into bartending, but I worked my way up and I did everything I needed to do. But that's beside the point. The reason I wanted to talk about the bartending thing is because bartending to me is one of the few things, any type of hospitality job that you interact with people on a regular day-to-day, I think is invaluable. And I think that everybody in the country probably should do a little bit of that, at least during college or whatnot. And the reason is because you learn to put your problems aside, and you learn that once you hit the floor, quote unquote, you are hitting the floor and your problems are gone. You are now there to make sure that everyone has the best possible experience, and if you use it the right way, it almost becomes like a possibility to be either an actor or to be a stand-up comedian or whatever you want to play with that day, and you get to take on a persona that best suits your personality. And so for me, as an introvert INTJ, one of my best strengths that people tell me all about is my quick wit. And so I started to use it more as a platform to say some of the stupidest things that I possibly could ever have said. I mean, I've said some amazing shit. Like, I've said to people, someone one time said to me, I'm going to laugh the entire time I do this, so I'm not even going to try to edit it. But I remember somebody said to me, when we first met you, we thought you were such a dick. And I said, let me tell you what I know about dick. When my dad stuck it in, it didn't hurt. And I started to walk away. Now, under normal circumstances, that would not be appropriate. But as a bartender, I got lots of laughs, and those people ended up staying the entire day with me. And then I've also said some other amazing stuff. Like, I one time said to somebody, without missing a beat, they had said something stupid. Like, it was a group of nuns. So a group of nuns happened to be, it's the French Quarter, guys. I know it sounds ridiculous and made up, but it's not. If you've ever been here, you'll understand. But they were having cokes. I believe it was cokes. And that was their, party. They were like, woo, what? And so they're sitting at Little Tropical Isle, and I'm sitting there and behind the bar. And they're just having cokes, but they're in this deep philosophical conversation about women's rights. And the controversy between being a Catholic nun and how that made them feel about women and all that stuff. And I was getting really annoyed. Not because I disagreed necessarily with what they were talking about, but one of the cardinal rules in bartending is you don't talk about religion or politics. And here are nuns fucking talking politics. And so I immediately finally said to them, okay, I've got to stop you guys. So you're all about women's lib and all this stuff, if I'm overhearing this properly. But let me ask you something. What's my name? And I swear to God, you would have thought that I personally punched their uterus or something, because the shock look on their expression was priceless, and then the gales of laughter were just ridiculous. They could not have been more fun, and I could not stop myself from laughing hysterically at my own joke, because I didn't realize that for them that was about as naughty as you can get without going to hell. And so I just thought that it was one of the best moments, and it made me re-fall in love with bartending. And when people take bartending jobs, it's almost like people have this misconception that somehow you fell into it or something went wrong. We're not hookers, y'all. And even a hooker, let me say this. If I was self-confident enough to make money off of laying on my back and getting fucked, I would be doing it in a heartbeat. Those women are brave-ass people, because let's talk some truth. Some of those dicks are nasty looking, and I'm not letting them near me. So they, I kudos, ladies, because I can't fucking do it. And plus, being on your back all that time, I can't even lay in my house for too long with my balls towards the air conditioner in the summer. I'm just like, oh my God, I got to get up. So I give them mad props. So I'm not saying anything about them. But bartenders tend to be, and especially in a city like New Orleans, overeducated. And part of the reason that we love bartending is because we do get to experience life on a different level. And where else can you work and work only 4 days a week, let's say, and make the same amount of money you would as an over stressed, tightwad white asshole who is such a dick to everybody, doesn't tip because it's his money, and where else can you work and take, work 4 days and then be off 3 days and go to like fucking Florida for 2 days, or go to LA for 2 days, or do whatever the hell you want and still walk back in, and when it's time for you to go back to work, and fucking rock it out in like 6 hours and make mad money? Where else are you gonna do that? And so, I always tell people, be a little bit cautious, especially in a city hospitality like New Orleans, how you come up to somebody and how you look at them and how you speak to them, because a lot of times we're a lot happier than you are. And with bartending, one of the great things about bartenders is if you're a psychologist or a psychiatrist, this is a really good option for you if you look at it from the right perspective. I mean, I used to be able to read body language, and I learned to key in on supersonic hearing. And so there are different traits and different things that you as a human being may find rewarding in the bartending field, but you have to come at it the right way. I see a lot of young people come into bartending as though they know what they're doing, and they get eaten alive by drugs, by alcohol. And don't get me wrong, we party like rock stars. It's not a secret. I'm not saying that we don't, but you still have to pay your bills, and you still have to go to work, and you still have to be sober enough to do your job. And so you have to come at it the right way. But having said that, for the right people, especially those that are in college, or people that are out of college who just want to pepper the gumbo, so to speak, with some money, bartending is a great avenue. You learn to read people's bodies. And I cannot tell you how many times I've diffused an argument that was about to happen before it even became a thing. Or I would go up to one of my coworkers and be like, that's about to blow up in your face, you better cut it off. And they'd be like, no, it's not. And then next thing, bar stools are flying, and I'm in the middle of two assholes fighting it out. You learn to do that because it's almost like a game. You're almost trying to figure out the human condition. You hear everything under the sun, and you got to get used to that. Especially like in New Orleans, there's nothing you can tell me that I have not seen or done. I have seen during Mardi Gras a beautifully dressed white woman cop a squat in the middle of the street and take a shit without wiping. And I stayed to watch to make sure she did not wipe. And you can't make that shit up. And it's just stuff that people do. So it's a great avenue for like somebody who's studying humanities, or someone who's studying psychology or psychiatry, because it lets you listen in without any judgment. You're not there to judge anybody. And at times they would ask me like really serious questions, and I would look at them and I go, look, whatever I say, you can't take 100% at value, because my experience is different from your experience. And so the deep philosophical principles that you engage in, or things that you never thought of that other people think about, it makes you worldly, and it gives you an advanced perspective on life. And I gotta tell you, like cigarette smoking, I know everybody's against cigarette smoking, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's good for you, but at least I can still see my dick. You know what I mean? Like this whole thing about, oh, it's so bad to smoke cigarettes, but go ahead and eat all you can fucking eat so that you can't even wash your own cock because your arms are too small to reach around your big ass fat belly. No, everything in moderation, guys. Like, look, don't lose your shit. Like, that's just stupid. Or, women who come in and like say some of the worst. I mean, I've heard some things that just make me go, what did you just say? Like, I remember a white woman talking about how she only likes black dick. And the reason is because, they can get in there. And I'm like looking at her and I'm like, one, that's a little racist, because there are a lot of white guys, especially wiggers, who have big ones. I'm like, but beside that, so you're basically saying that by default. That's not nice. And so, like, things that you never thought about, you're going to be exposed to. And so, if you're an educated person, understand that that's a great avenue for you to learn. And one of the great things about learning from that is your leadership skills really develop really, really quickly. I cannot tell you how many times I've looked at someone and I've said from the beginning, I'm like, no, get the fuck out. And they're like, what? I'm like, I can already tell. Just get the fuck out. And literally, I would find out the next bar over. Well, obviously, you become friends with other bartenders in a city, especially as small as this one, is that they, sure enough, were assholes, and they got into it, and they like, hit one of the waitresses, and I just like, I told you guys not to let them in. You can't make a judgment call like that without having a lot of experience, and I've been doing it for 7 years, and I've worked in some fucking ghetto-ass places, and I've been able to hold my own, but it's not like something I go into, well, I'm going to do this because of this. It's just I'm saying that as a networking or as a learning experience, there's so much you can garner from just watching people and engaging them. And so I guess what I'm trying to say, especially to the INTJ community, I'm not telling you what to do with your life, because God knows I have not exactly lived a really good life, and shit happens and I'm not in the best position right now. But I'm happy. And it's a weird happiness, because I'm not happy with, sorry, the military is flying over us. They do it at least twice a week. And people get really weirded out by it, but I'm like, you do realize New Orleans is a military town, right? Before, not too long ago, there was a military base. It was called the Navy. It was right there on the Mississippi, but that's bygones. I'm going to let them finish my own. But like for INTJ personality, one of the things that you notice is that you are introvert, and to some degree, and you're very judgmental to another degree. And if you're like me, those can be a very deadly combination, especially if you have a little bit of a personality and you are somewhat good on the eyes. It can be kind of a really deadly combination, and you can kind of be one of those assholes that no one is ever going to like. And so instead of being that jackass, why not engage what your shortcomings are, which is, if you're an introvert, why not engage an extrovert lifestyle, and not in your personal way, but make it a job, so that you have to go in every day and you have to engage it, and soon you'll find yourself a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more worldly. And that quest that we have for that eternal knowledge of everything and why people are the way we are grows in expansive ways. And so instead of castigating those that you think are not smart enough, or those that you find to be not as worthy as you are, because somehow a piece of paper makes you feel more qualified to be judgy than anyone else, understand that a lot of people in this country are free-thinking citizens, and that's why we're American. And we have the ability to go and do what we want to do. And a smart person might point out, I'm just saying, but they might point out something basic, which is this: where else can you go and have a frivolity-filled life full of joy and laughter, where you can drink and do drugs and do whatever the fuck you want to do, or not do, because I don't do either of them now, but where else can you do that? And where else can you learn those life lessons while on the job? You can't. So before you judge me, understand that I know all your secrets and I know everything about you. And maybe you should shut your trap a little bit and maybe focus on your own shit, because there's nothing you're going to say to someone like me that I won't be like, I already knew that was coming, because I've learned it. And so look at opportunity when opportunity presents itself. If you have the skills to bartend, and to bartend well, not only can you make it lucrative, but you can get a following. And if you can get a following, these are people who follow you from bar to bar to bar to bar. Because let's face it, I am a hothead, and I have one pet peeve. And my one pet peeve is I will show up every day of my job, even if I'm dying. But the moment that I want to go home early, which is usually once in a year and a half, is usually when it happens, I want to go home early. And if you give me shit, lip, or any type of, I will quit on you before you can even fucking say anything else. Because after all that dedication and all that hard work, you're going to tell me that I can't go home? Fuck you. And so with that type of personality, I have to understand that, I move from time to time from bar to bar. The only place I was really, really happy was a tropical isle. And I had a problem with someone, and so that ended up ending. But to this day, I do kind of regret leaving it, but I'm still very proud of myself for standing up for myself, because it had nothing to do with the owners. The owners, and I love the owners of that place. And I'm not kissing their ass, because they can be difficult, but I love them for being them. And like both the male and female that run this place were very honest, and nothing was sugar-coated, and I really respect that as an INTJ personality. So, but I'm proud that I stood up for myself. But again, where else was I going to learn that? I mean, you've got to take opportunity for opportunity's sake. And you have to understand that some opportunity is a lifelong lesson and something that you can't buy. And so instead of judging something based on what your perceptions are, understand that your perception might not be there, might not be where it needs to be at that time. And maybe take a gamble and go out there and do something amazing for people and make them have some of the best times. I retired from bartending for a moment, for a little while, because I ended up working Mardi Gras at a place, and I love them for this, but I worked by myself Mardi Gras nights for like 2 weeks by myself, and I was run ragged, and I was tired, and my body was broken again. It was like the second time I had done that, and I was really, really kind of sore, and so I walked away from it, and I was a little diffused by it, and a little disheartened, and a little brokenhearted, really, because it was that situation where I had gone out of my way. I was basically the manager. The only reason I didn't take the title was because you you lose tips if you're the manager. I'm like, fuck that. If I'm basically sucking your dick legally, I'm fucking getting money. I'm not fucking sitting there for free. That's just me. Just saying. But that broke my heart, because when I went in there that day and I asked them to go home, they tried to make me feel guilty. And he was a real dick to me, and I ended up quitting that job, and it just broke my heart, because I was just like, well, fuck this shit. And I wanted to start my own company, and I wanted to, work more with, like I said, I wanted to work with the autistic community. I want to engage that, which is the next segment I'm going to do today, from a different part of the park. It's a little bit darker because of what happens to this person, but I just feel like it's a worthwhile story, so I'll get into that later. And I'm going to do like that for, now that I'm going back to work, is the moral story. I'm slowly phasing myself back in. And after being brokenhearted over that situation, I came back and I did voodoo. And I got very lucky. I got the artist lounge in voodoo. And I got to work with all the artists that were performing. And I am from California, so I kind of came into it with that kind of cadence of like, oh, these assholes. And instead, I went counterintuitively. And I was super nice. And they were super, super amazing. And I've never had a better experience as a bartender. So it was a great way to usher me back. And now I just accepted a job at a place, and in the French Quarter, of course. And I wouldn't have done it without having the balls to understand that maybe I haven't learned everything I'm supposed to learn in this process, and that I can't just walk away sometimes. If the world or the universe is giving me information that tells me that I need to go back and do something that it's not quite done, then as much as I get pissed off about it, which is another segment, there's going to be 2 segments coming out today beyond this one about that bullshit, because nothing pisses me off more than me being ready and then the universe being like, nope, you're not ready yet. I can't tell you why, but you're going to have to wait. Bitch, it's my time clock. But anyway, so that's a different story. But the moral story is that I still have so much to do, and I am not losing faith on my work with the autistic community. And I'm not losing my faith with helping the homeless. There's a thing about salmonella poisoning, and that meat and certain meat products cannot be used once they hit the floor and given to the homeless, because it can cause contamination. But just tweaking the verbiage to maybe specifically state meat or fish or whatnot cannot be. Then what about all the bread, and what about all of the salad and all of the stuff that we're throwing by vats? I work in the service industry. I'm telling you right now, I see vats of good food being thrown away that no one fucking touched, but because it was made and it hit the floor. Look, if you give a man that is starving to death, or a woman with children, an opportunity to eat anything, even if it's been on the... we have the 5-second rule, y'all. I mean, we're fucking picking shit up off the floor and putting it in our mouth. You're gonna sit there and tell me that I can't decide for myself that I want that salad that they were gonna throw away, or I want that bagel that they want to throw away? I don't fucking think so. So I'm not giving up on that, but I am willing to understand that there's so much more to learn about the human condition. And I've signed up with AmeriCorps, and so I don't know when I'll be going off to do that, because I'm just dedicated to giving back. But until then, I just want everybody to kind of look at it for what it is. There is possibilities that are endless with everything that you look at. And if you just take the moment to look at life the way it's meant to be looked at, you can find great rewards. I was very unhappy recently. I lost my apartment. I'm staying at a friend's house on the couch. And I'm grateful for it, but it's someone else's domain, and I don't really get to be me, and I have to kind of go out to do my own recording and stuff like that. And I just was really down, and I was just like, if this is what my life is going to be like, I'm not interested anymore. And at 40, I mean, that's really where I was at, and I'm just on my way. I had an honest conversation with myself, and the conversation was like, I started to say, I'm so unhappy, I wish I was dead. And I said, well, I can't. And as I said it, my brain went, well, that's not really entirely true. You're unhappy with the situation at hand, and you're unhappy with the fact that this company has not paid you. And that company better fucking pay me quick, because it's been a month you've been holding on to my money. I'm not going to say your fucking name right now, but I swear to God, if I don't get it soon, by tomorrow, your fucking name gig will be everywhere. But especially for the asinine reason that it's delayed. But I realized that just because I'm unhappy with the situation does not mean I'm unhappy in general. And in truth, I realized I was super happy. I mean, here I am on a Friday, sitting in a park, Yeah, I have no cash on me, but I have cigarettes. You know what I mean? And I have my Rockstar. I love my energy drinks. I know it's bad, y'all, but kidney damage and cancer, that's fine. I'm gonna go out my way. Y'all go out your way. But I love this shit. So they're not paying me, by the way. So sorry, Rockstar. I hope I represent you the best way, but they're not paying me, and it's not like a solicitation or anything. But I realized that I'm 40 years old and I get to fucking hang out at a park today. I'm not starving to death. I have shelter. I've always been provided for, even when I felt homeless. And the universe has not let me down. It's just I need to be patient, and I don't do well with patience. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the segments I'm gonna be doing later. I understand that life wants us to be ready for things, but at times you have to remind life and stand up for yourself and say, look, life, I love you, but you're not gonna fucking tell me when I'm ready. I'm ready now. And whether I'm not or whether I am, that's a life lesson. So how, let me have it. But I realized that's a whole different conversation. But that's a frustrating thing I'm gonna be talking about later. But I realized that I'm blessed in that I am 40 years old and I get to hang out at home whenever I want. It may not be my home right now, but I'm not dying. I'm not starving. I look healthier than ever. I'm not, I'm not doing drugs. I'm not drinking. I'm just being me. And as negative as I can be, I realized I was not actually unhappy. I'm unhappy with the state of things, but I'm not unhappy as a being. As a being, I'm thrilled. I'm starting to get more acting jobs, which came out of nowhere, which I find hysterical. And my friend's like, oh, maybe you'll be a famous actor. And I was like, more like infamous, because let's face it, with my mouth, I get myself in and out of trouble with my mouth more than you can possibly know. If I was a girl, man, y'all would be in trouble. But, the worst part is I actually find that funny. That's funny shit to me. But I'm getting to do things. And the fact that I do like to speak on behalf of motivating others to get beyond like the troubling times. Y'all gotta remember where I come from. I came from a very, very beautiful childhood that was ripped apart when I was raped and molested as a child. And then when I started to get over it, I was ripped from New Orleans and moved to California to fucking Compton. And I had to learn to fight like a man. And then I ended up in a cult. And then I wasn't allowed to go to school. And then I was outed by my friends. And I had all these people staying with me because they had no place to go. And then my mom died and my dad was gone. And I mean, I've been through hell and back. But the one thing I've never lost is my faith and love in humanity. And the great thing about that lesson to me is that every now and then I gotta catch myself and call my shit. Like, I'm full of shit. At the end of the day, yes, I'm not happy. And yes, I'm pissed off that I ain't got my money, because let's face it, I did the work and I still have not gotten paid by these assholes. But, life will take care of that. I was actually going to offer them my services and take over their client services department, because they really need the fucking help. So at some point I will divulge who it is. But I just have to do it legally correct. But the moral story is that, the focus was there that I believed in them so much. Anyway, bygones. Anyway, now I don't believe in them for shit, and I just want my fucking money. Bitch better have my money. That's all I'm saying. But having said all that, you gotta learn to take the blessings where they're at. And you gotta cross the T's the right way, and you gotta dot the I's. And you can't say blank statements like, oh, I'm miserable and I want to die, when in truth, I'm just having issues. But overall, as a being, I'm super thrilled. I have the opportunities right now to join AmeriCorps. I have the opportunity, by not being tangled or tied to anything right now, to leave and go do something charitable for 9 months and work with this amazing organization that deals with American soil and American citizens. And I put in applications to be in philanthropy, to be a manager in charge of that, or even to be a coordinator, because there's a lot I need to learn about my own charities. And many of you who actually know me personally in California know that I have a very, very reputable resume, and that I am really quite good as a fundraiser, and I was a training manager and all that stuff. And so motivational speaking comes naturally to me, and that's my passion at this point. Why I have the YouTube channel is to reach all of the leaders of today and tomorrow, and to engage all of these conversations that nobody else wants to have. Like, I'm not a nice person, and I say it all the time, and so I'm willing to be the asshole taking on Scientology. I'm willing to be the person who takes on the stupidity behind the not letting homeless people have food that they really, really desperately desperately need. And instead of life letting me arbitrarily learn that lesson by reading it, it made me live it. And I can tell you firsthand, like, I eat marshmallows now. Do you know why? Because someone informed me that it's better for your body when you're homeless and you're starving to death, because the marshmallow expands and it makes you feel full. That's tragic that I know that, but I had to learn the lesson myself. And so when you see an opportunity in your life, what I'm saying is engage the opportunity. The world is not going to go the way that you want it to go, but at some point it will turn around for me, because I already know I'm on that path. And there are amazing people online, especially on YouTube, that talk about this, talk about the multiple realities and stepping in from one to the other and all that stuff. There is so much to engage in your mind in this world to keep you occupied that nothing is really truly ever boring anymore. And I find myself more interesting. I find myself more attractive, which I never thought I would be comfortable with. But I'm starting to be like, oh, all right, I got a nice tan. I look pretty good for 40, for any age, really. But it all came from engaging the asinine and being ridiculous and doing stupid shit and losing my place and having people tell me I'm crazy and tell me that I'm wrong about Scientology. What the fuck do they know, these assholes? And it let me let go of so much bullshit that in the end, I caught myself in the moment. So while saying something stupid, I caught myself in that moment. And if you've been through it, you know what I mean. When you catch yourself saying something so asinine that you were like, okay, motherfucker, you need to knock that shit off. In the moment, it is such an empowering experience, because it's not just that, it's every day. Every day I catch myself saying something and I stop myself and I go, you can't say that, can you? And that level of intelligence didn't come naturally. It came from experience, and it came from some real hard knock bullshit, y'all. And I now have the power to go and speak around the country and to engage people in a way that helps them know that, yeah, it may suck and it may not be ideal, but one day you may be sitting at a park homeless, and you may just be rocking it out on YouTube, and you may be changing people's lives without ever doing anything or lifting a finger, just being you. And when you say stuff like that, people start to get it. And I'm hoping you guys get it. So from the Louis Armstrong Park here in New Orleans, Louisiana, my name is Al for Altruistic Channel. I am signing out for the moment. I'm going to go pee, actually, if you must know. And then I'm going to tape the last 2 segments before heading back to my friend's house. But in any event, I hope you guys are blessed and having a great day. Understand that there's no such thing as a bad opportunity. There's only good opportunities. You just have the right perspective to see the opportunity to begin with. So that's it. All right. I hope that made sense. If not, whatever. It's me. Anyway, Al from Altruistic Channel. Later. I don't make sense to myself. I don't even know why I bother.